Okay, now, in looking here, we've got a seam in the image map, and that's because this is brighter on one side and darker on the other. This one is not, so we can go and use that, or what I might do is I'm just going to actually try and replace this with another piece of wood. Let's try it with the light oak. See how that looks. Well, that looks all right. What we can do is go in the surface editor and come in here, and we'll just, this is a pretty good one to just repeat. So we'll come back to the wood, and we're going to have to change the bump map a little bit. But what we could do, the height is repeating, and the width, we can just maybe by 3, like that. You can see it repeating in there a little bit nicer. Okay, so that works okay. So let's just copy that selected layer. Replace this one, because remember, we used that texture 3 times. And even though I replaced that image from the image editor, by doing so, it replaced all the places I had applied it. I still had to bring the bump map down into size as well as specularity map because I had changed that. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did. Shift S1, Shift S for version 1 for an incremental save. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this ball and just move it right up about here. And then we're going to come back here to this guy, hit rotate. Okay, at frame 0, it's right there. And let's go maybe 200 frames. And at frame 200, it is, I don't know, 360 degrees. And I apologize if I don't know which way this rotates, but we're just going to rotate it about 3 or 4 times like that. And then we're going to come over here to modify under the tools and go to the move TCB tool. So at 200, tension of 1, and at frame 0, a tension of 1. And I did shift arrow, which goes between my selected keyframes. Save the scene. And this is what we have. Slowly starts up. Place your bets. Place your bets. And then it slows down. Now, clearly that would go a good bit longer in the real world. But it's okay for right now. I'll increase my frames. Save my scene. Press P to get my object properties. And for the roulette wheel, go to Dynamics. Drop down. That is our collision. And we do not have subdivisions on these like we did with the craps table. So we can just leave this alone as far as the geometry goes. That's not going to make any difference. Okay? But for the collision, I'm just going to leave everything default. It's often a good way to start. For the ball, we're going to do a hard dynamic. Select it. Gravity, negative 9.8. Save the scene. Calculate. The ball will fall and probably bounce way out of the screen. Okay? And that's totally normal. That's because we've not added weight to the ball. Our dynamics on the collision are very high. But, bunk. Okay? So it's working pretty well, so we know that. So let's do this. Let's go right back to one thing at a time. Here's the roulette wheel. Force, I'm going to try maybe 100. We're going to cut it in half. I'm also going to go to the wheel, the ball itself, and instead of the collision being node, I'm also going to set that to sphere. Calculate again, and that's going to make it go a little bit faster. And you can see it just bouncing around in there. Now this is what I was talking about where we need to actually model this probably a little bit better so that it's smooth going down right into that crevice so that the ball doesn't get locked in. The bad thing is that momentum is pushing that ball around. Actually, it's working pretty well. I thought it might have popped it off the table. And it's going to get stuck in that outer lip there because I need to put, because the dynamics will work, we need everything to flow right into this little crevice here. But I think that's working okay. And it's going pretty well. See the ball just bouncing around in there? It still rolls. And there you have it. I might go in and put the collision just a little bit higher. Maybe 110. And we'll recalculate one more time. And actually, let's do this. Let me see if I can abort without crashing. Yep, press the control key. I'm actually going to drop the ball from a little bit different position. And we'll see what happens. Come over here, select the ball, press T. Let's move it over here. And I'm not going to give it the momentum and torque like I did with the dice. We're just going to drop it in there. Even though I know the guy at the craps table and the roulette wheel, that is, pushes it in there and really gets it spinning. But we're not going to do that. Let's do one more. Calculate. There it goes. Yes, he's getting stuck in that little groove a little bit. But I put a little bit more bounce on there. And from this point, you can experiment and go put in your own kind of roll and some torque, kind of like I was showing you on the dice. You can even go in and every so often put just a little nub, little oval ball in here and make it metal as well. So it's just a little thing for the ball to bounce off of. And we'll just let this finish. From here, we're going to do one kind of cool thing, and then we'll render it out. We'll do a playback. You can see it bouncing around there. Okay, so it could use a little more, probably just a little more bounce. So I might increase that bounce effect. But for now, I'm going to leave that up to you because I think you get the idea of where we're going with this. So let's do some camera moves. We're going to start out like this, just a little bit more dramatically. Since we did our dice close up and we followed it, let's do this a little bit different. And frame 0, I've created my camera. I'm looking through the camera lens at the roulette wheel. It starts to go. And as it starts to go, let's get the camera down there. And we'll come, instead of it chasing us, we're going to chase it. Kind of like this. So we kind of come down like that. And then maybe we'll swing the camera around. See what we can do. If we can find it over here. And it'll come meet us. So we're going to come down, drop it around, and we'll see it come around the other side. There it is. And maybe for 135, the current frame, we do that and let the ball pass us by. Something like that. And here's just a quick overview of the scene. And if we let the scene go long enough, and let me do this, press D, turn that grid off, that'll help. If we let the scene go long enough, we can have that ball calculate and just land. But again, probably might mean to go in, and this is actually what I was talking about with the edge. See how it's getting caught in that edge? The ball's actually seeing the dynamic of that lip there. But fortunately, there's enough force where it just rolls off down into the area we want. So as you're modeling this, consider that everything should slope down into these little grooves here. Because as I study the craps table a little bit better, the roulette table a little bit better, that's what happens. So anyway, I think the camera move here I don't like. We're just going to do it maybe here. Maybe we'll keep it here for about 30 frames. And when we do that, what's going to happen? The camera's going to drift a little. So I want it to hold in place. So under Modify, come to Move TCB, set this to 1. Next keyframe at 30, also set this to 1 for the tension. Tension is your ease in and ease out. Okay? So now the camera stays put and then eases out down into this other keyframe. And then we'll just reposition this. And we'll see the ball coming around. And one thing is kind of fun to do, which you really often shouldn't do in video production, is just completely whip the camera around. But it could be kind of neat as we follow this. Just whip the camera around like this. and then delete this previous keyframe. Just something kind of fun. That way you're following it down the letters. Give it a cool look. All right, so I'm going to save the scene. I think my actual lighting I'm quite happy with. The other thing you can do, if you're interested, is put a little bit of a spotlight above it if you feel you need to. But again, this was just two lights, very soft, off-white to the blue, a little cooler light, give it kind of a daylight look. And then an orange light in the back just to add a fill. I've moved the camera a bit, so we're actually opposite of those lights. And the wood is okay. And then we can come down, and when you see the render here, the other thing we do is put some motion blur on. So let's do that real quick for you. Go to Render, Render Globals, General. We're going to render 260 frames. Turn that beep off. We're going to do this at 320 by 200. Under Render, Ray Tracing and Shadows is good. Everything else is okay. Filtering. Enhance Medium. That's fine. And a little photoreal motion blur, about 40%, with about 6 passes. Because the dice needed a little bit more. I don't think we needed that much on here. And just do a quick render now. We'll see what that looks like. And this is why I always tell people too, when you're out, and I've told people this for years, when you're out walking around, carry a little digital camera, even a little pocket 3 megapixel camera, and you see some nice wood on the side of a building or some rust, it's always a good idea to take photos of that because you can use it for things like this to map on. You can also buy seamless textures from certain texture manufacturers, stock agencies, and so on. But it's often good just to take your own because then they're completely unique to you and your projects. Okay. And there is our spinning roulette wheel. Okay, so again, check the introduction. You can see the final render. And let's move on and build ourselves a slot machine, see if we're going to get lucky.